Hello and good afternoon. This is Grillenheimer. I just want to go over something I think I've gone over before, but I think I can do this a little better, maybe from a different perspective. And it's all about sin. And it's more, I'm not just talking about one kind of sin here, I'm talking about everything. And maybe spinning a different little kind of light on this, which should be fairly obvious. And you know, we have to ask ourselves, what is sin? How do we know if something's morally right or not? You know? And I'll get into why I have Super Pac-Man up here in a second, but it should be kind of obvious. But imagine, we have two fishermen. Two fishermen fishing of the world. Because Jesus himself went by the shores where people were throwing their nets, catching fish. He said, "Come follow me." They dropped their nets, they walked with him. They just left. They left what they were doing, believed hook, line, and sinker what Jesus was saying, and they went with him and became his followers. And we have to do the same thing. But let's get back to my fisherman analogy here. We have two different kinds of fishermen. We have a large, meek, and humble fisherman with one pole and one lure. Okay, and then we have another fisherman who might be smaller, craftier, multiple poles, multiple different lures. Who's going to catch the more fish? You guessed it. The one trolling for as many fish as he can catch. With all those poles out and all those lures, they could be shiny lures, they could be meaty lures, they could be lures that smell bad, that the fish like. You know, and when we fish, and I've gone fishing before, I used to be a pretty reoccurring fisherman. I haven't fished much in 20 years, but that's just the thing. Fishing lures are not fun for us, but there are lures all around us. Some are in this room that are designed to catch us and keep us in the world. Because when that fisherman with multiple poles and those multiple lures catches a fish, he doesn't pull them out. The other fisherman with the one pole and the one lure wants to reel them out, take them out of that water and save them. And now you can probably guess my analogy here. One of them is Jesus Christ and our Father. The other one is Satan. The other one is the evil. The other one is not good, not Christ-like, not holy, not spiritual. Well, spiritual of a different nature. And it's funny how, we're envision the world like a ball of water, and you have two different people there fishing for the world. And that's an interesting metaphorical kind of way of thinking of this, considering if you go back to Genesis 1 verse 7, I believe. Where's my notes? Yes, verse 7 about the expanse. And we think the way that reads, that the expanse that was surrounding the planet was water itself before the flood, making everything extremely humid, which very well could have been, this is just an idea, just a hypothetical idea here, the reason people lived so long back then, because our bodies do need water, don't we? We drink a lot of water. When we overindulge, like I did, you get so cotton-mouthed, you're drinking and drinking and drinking, and then you're running to the restroom about every 3 hours. We need water to live. Our bodies are made up of water for the most part. And so with that much water in the air and in the world, and above us and below us and around us, could have lengthened our lives. Has anyone thought of that? But anyway, that's not my point here. What we're talking about here is about sin. Now, the fisherman with all the lures, what can those lures be? Well, we can have all sorts of lures. You know, like I said, shiny, meaty, smelly things. Books. Books can be entertaining. Books can be knowledgeable. Books, in general, lead to knowledge. That kind of knowledge can lead to power. That kind of power can lead to manipulating others. I'm not trying to sound like Yoda here. Not in the least. And then there, books, knowledge. Adam and Eve, the first people on the earth, supposedly. That was the first lure, wasn't it? They wanted the knowledge. They wanted to. The serpent tempted them to say, hey, he told you not to eat that because you will become like him. And did they become like godlike? It may have given them knowledge they did not have. And it did give them something because they changed. They changed. They realized, oh, wait, we're naked. Earl, cover that up. Mabel, cover that up. Yes, I just renamed the first people of the world Earl and Mabel. But that a light came on and their eyes were opened. In the Bible, throughout the Bible, a lot of the different characters, when things are illuminated, their eyes are opened to something. That's a very common thing when you compare it that so many different people have written our Bible. There are a lot of different authors, from the Old Covenant to the New Covenant, and how it all comes in together. You can't deny that fact. Money. Money is our second one. And I put these in no real order, really. Books was just the first thing that came to mind because people can be addicted to reading books. They read and read and read and read, and what do you need to buy those books? Money. Whether you're reading Star Wars novels or, I don't know why Agatha Christie just popped in my head. In all the ladies' murder mystery novels with all the letters on them, and the Harry Potter stuff, and all the Percy Jackson stuff. Once a writer gets into a mode, in a set of, okay, here's our story, here's our characters, here's our plot line, and all of a sudden he now has a script. Ooh, I can write more books. Boom, 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 boom. Ooh, I can put this all together. Series. They're making money off of you. They're making movies out of this. Money, money, money. Money's our next one. Which money can lead to greed. It can lead to jealousy. It has gotten into our politics about that kind of greed. No matter how hard you have worked for your money, a lot of people work hard for money. A lot of people work hard for living. And what do the politicians want to do? Get a certain group of people, these leftists, and say, hey, if we can get these people and rile them up and get them angry enough and get them entitled to think that they want other people's money and covet other people's money that they've worked for, then we got them. So we don't know how hard people have worked for money. Yeah, there's the rare instances where some people have. Well, maybe I should have left it like it was. we're born into money, inherited some money. Everybody would love to inherit money, And that can also lead to murder. And I did not put killing in my list. I forgot that. So that's a part of this too. That's also a part of sin. Why do people kill other people? For money, for drugs, for jealousy, for envy. And I forgot envy and boasting in my list. And this is all connected. This is all coming together. All of it, all of it, all of it. And I'm not saying politics are evil, but they can be. They can easily be evil, and they can easily begin with sinful temptations. And when we act on those temptations, it becomes the sin. Things, items. I mean, there's junk over here, there's Legos over here, there's movies right here, there's games right here. Here's Super Pac-Man. Under the TV is a bunch of 360 stuff and maybe some Switch stuff. We just have a handful of Switch stuff. Like I said, we don't buy stuff much anymore because it got me in trouble. I had that issue. That was one of my big sins. Collecting. Buying, using money that wasn't mine. High credit, high debt. That gets all of us in trouble. Things, collecting. If you get so into collecting whatever, it can turn into kleptomania. And I'll admit, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I was one of the many kids that had that issue of like, oh, we're at Burger King, let's take their salt and pepper shakers. Oh, we're at McDonald's, I collected salt and pepper shakers from restaurants. I was stealing salt and pepper shakers from restaurants, of all the different little restaurants, and we had them in our band room because that's where we ate. Okay, yes, I'm admitting item and collecting can lead to theft. And that's not good either. That's a sin. Stealing something that's not yours. And now what do we have? Tiny little packets. The fast food restaurants do not ever carry. You will not see salt and pepper shakers on their tables anymore. Thanks to people like me. Because I was an idiot. I was stupid. I was stealing. There, I admit it. But there were kids like me that was doing crap like that you don't see those things in fast food restaurants anymore. And they used to be there, kids. They really used to be there. They were cheap. They're still cheap. You can go to a Publix and buy a salt and pepper shaker. They're stuck together. Or taped together, wrapped together, like maybe $2-3 or less, maybe $1.50 in the 21st century. And stealing these items has turned companies to say, we got to wipe this out. We got to cut corners somewhere. Stop buying the salt and pepper shakers. Get them in the little tiny things, and so people can try to rip them and sprinkle this tiny little bit of stuff on their food. Hoarding, collecting can lead to hoarding, which is coveting, which means you're coveting too much stuff. If you're wanting something and you want it bad enough and you see it in a store and you don't want to pay for it, you're not just stealing it, you're coveting. If your neighbor has something that you want, you're wanting to covet their items. If you steal a garden chair, a lawnmower, that is coveting your neighbor's stuff. That's in the commandments, even. In talking about things like this, that ties into my maturing video. We need to. Guys, adults, we've got to start casting away our kid stuff. We're not kids anymore. We need to have a spirit, a childlike spirit that is healthy, and with the love of our God, with the love of God and Jesus Christ. Yes, in our items and our things helps keep us childlike. There's some truth in that. But that's why we grow up and should procreate and have kids of our own. Or adopt when you can't. And I'm getting to that in a second. But I had, my kids aren't even into Star Wars. I had a lot of Star Wars stuff that I collected like an idiot in the mid-90s. Like, 95, 98, 99. The time before the prequel movies even came out. A bunch of junk. I've given a lot of it away to our kids' school for little auction baskets. I've given stuff, and a lot of that junk doesn't even sell well on eBay, so I've just been giving it away. I just gave a bunch of stuff away to my kids, my friend and his 2 little kids. They thought when I was going to leave, I was going to take it all back. And he couldn't believe I left it. All these loose figures, all these little ships, and they're just ecstatic because the stuff will be played with. Here, they were collecting dust because my kids don't care anything about Star Wars. And my youngest is at that age where he's growing out of toys. And he's never really played with toys. He's never really used his imagination as much as I used to. I'm not dogging him in any way. He's just different. Okay? He's differently wired. Oh, goodness. I'm gone too long here. Food. Gluttony. That's a sin. We need to eat, but we don't need to overeat. I mean, look. You can see how and I can't explain it exactly, but I have changed my diet. Like I've said before, you are diabetic. That's my 3D effect there. And my doctor, when he said that, it opened my eyes. I'm like, I've got to change. I can change. You can change too. And that was just one of the sins of my own that I have been able to change. Some sins have to stop abruptly. Boom. End. Beginning. Old self, new self. That is what Christ has been. That's what the gospel is teaching us, that we have to change. You can change. Change is possible. That is the uplifting message here. That is continuous throughout the Bible. Some people changed so drastically, God changed their names in the Old Testament. That was the part of an even older video of mine that I really didn't explain very well. Lust. Here we go. Lust, doesn't matter what sex it is, can lead to rape. Rape can lead to adultery. Lust can lead to adultery, which also can lead to an abortion. In abortion, what has the left just done? They have celebrated we can kill babies! Newborn babies. The law was signed, they celebrated. The rest of us are crying inside. While what the big debate is when we are allowed to kill a life. When does life start? That's the seriousness weight of this. Had my parents not taken responsibility for their firstborn when they found out they were pregnant, now it wasn't me, it was my brother, they may never have gotten married because they were forced to get married at a very young age. My dad was taken out of college. My mother graduated, probably pregnant with my brother at the time. They got married. They found a place to live. And boom, they're a family. And they had issues they had to deal with. It was not an easy life back then. It's not an easy life now. Life is never easy, folks. Life is a trial. And with trials, we have help. Help from our friends, help from our family, help from God. And when you have that spiritual leaning on something that important, that weight can be lifted and elevated, alleviated to some extent of some of your problems to help you get through things better. I wish I could go more into that right now, but I'm running out of time. And on the same line of lust, doesn't matter if it's hetero or homosexual. And I even have on here same-sex attraction. Lust can lead to same-sex attraction, which can lead to homosexuality, which can lead to porn, if porn didn't start before then, which can lead to prostitution. Let me tell you, prostitution goes both ways. I have seen so many videos on YouTube where people have gotten out of homosexuality. That's what's to be celebrated here. Not being able to kill a baby when it's born, but celebrated when these people come out of that lifestyle. And they just can't believe it. Because once they get into that lifestyle, they're in with a certain crowd. They may have a partner, yes, but then that partner of theirs knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and if they're not well-to-do, oh, hey, I got a job for you. Hey, I know somebody. Go talk to them, and you can get $200 cash easily under the table. Want to know what that job would be? It's not too hard to figure out. That is the evil of that lifestyle. And part of it also comes with our next bullet point in the list is drugs. And drugs can be a very terrible issue as well. There's someone in my extended family who is dealing with it right now. Has been. Cannot get out of it. And it is an addiction. All of these can be addictions. Addicted to food. Addicted to things. Oh, but it's just digital, Grillenheimer. That doesn't count. Yes, it does. You should see my addiction to music on my phone. Some of it may be free, but a lot of it I have bought with money. Probably money I didn't have at the time. Hello? This is all connected. Addiction to same-sex attraction. But should you take the bait? No. No. You want strength to help you not take that bait. Have Christ come into your heart. It won't change immediately. For some it might. It will help curb the temptations, but these temptations, all of these will be here. They're all the same. It can all lead to sin. All of them. Homosexuality isn't number one. It's not the evil I'm talking about here. It's one of the many. Many, 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 many of them. Like I said, there's a fisherman with multiple poles and multiple lures. And he's going to want those fish hanging on that lure in the water the whole time. He's not going to pull them out. He's not going to save them. And drugs. Yeah, just take drugs as a simple drug. Whether it's a simple cigarette, weed, marijuana, meth, whatever. Alcohol. What does it take to get that drug? Money. When people are in drugs, are they normally hurting for money? Most of the time. I'm not going to say all the time, because some people are even well-to-do, even some celebrities that get into drugs have the money to do it. But we've also seen and heard where some celebrities into drugs, it brings them to ruin. And we hate seeing that to the people that all we know of these people is how they act on TV. You know? Or in movies. But drugs can lead to money issues. It can lead to that dependency, to that addiction. These are all addictions. and what drugs can debilitate you physically and mentally. Being addicted to drugs can be very serious. It can lead to all sorts of physical and mental sicknesses. And you gotta have it. You gotta have it. You gotta have it. Dadgummit, that song. Music inspired by the Chronicles of Narnia. Before the first Narnia came out, that Disney put out, Christian artists came together and did music, and it was one of my favorite albums. And one of them on there was not one of my favorite songs to begin with. Turkish Delight. I can't remember who was it. The Dave Crowder Band? I can't remember who did the song. I didn't research that before. It just popped in my head. But I've been meaning to mention this, and I may have mentioned this before. Is because what did the White Witch do in the book? We don't really get it in the movie. He just keeps shoving the stuff in. The actor's like, oh, this is good. It's magical. It is magical food created by magic and magically made to keep him eating it. What is your Turkish delight? Is it the new Transformer cards? Is it magic cards? Is it Pokemon cards? Is it games? Is it digital items? Is it digital books? Is it real books? Is it movies? Is it Blu-rays? Is it digital movies? Where's your money going? Are you still stuck in an apartment? Would you like to live in a house? Do you need a new car without having to, put even charge more of your money up? Don't you need new tires on that vehicle? Where are your priorities lying right now? And that's what, as adults, or even teenagers, I don't know who's watching my videos. I got 6 subscribers. Thank you. I'm reaching somebody. And that's all I care about, is that I'm reaching you. Because you are as important as I am. I'm preaching to myself from experience to you to help illuminate some of this, to say, hey, this is real. We are in a spiritual war. And my eyes were open to this in about the early 90s, shortly after Clinton became president. Not Trump, not Bush, not Obama, Clinton. Things got really weird and really interesting after Clinton became president. But I don't want to get into that. I was in college at the time too. Yes, I'm old. Yes, I'm ancient. No, I'm not ancient. I'm not old. I feel like I'm still 18. But now, are we born this way? Were you born a homosexual? Were you born loving the same sex? No. You weren't attracted to the same little boy over there, the same little girl over there. We're not born that way. We're born into this world, of this world, on this world. We were born with sin around us. It molds us. It shapes us. The events of our world, the interaction with the people in our history is what shapes us. And because of that, Jesus can change. Jesus was here. He came to save the world. He did not come to judge us. That's in John 8, which I'm about to read some of prior to that here in a minute. But He can mold us. He can change us too. Change can happen. There is help. And it is in our Lord Jesus Christ. And you may say, hey, I don't believe that. I'm just here to see what you're playing in the background. I stopped this video 10 minutes ago. Your videos are too long, Grillenheimer. Yeah, I know they're long. Or they can be. I have gone 30 minutes, and I do apologize. Let's go to John John chapter 8, verse 1. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people were coming to him, and he sat down and began to teach them. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery, and having set her in the midst, they said to him, Teacher, this woman has been caught in adultery, in the very act. Ew. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. What then do you say? And they were saying this, testing him, in order that they may have grounds for accusing him. We're not done yet. How did they know she was in adultery? Caught in the act? For all we know, one of the men that brought her there was the rapist. She may not have been raped. She may have come onto one of them. We don't know. It takes two to tango. But the gist of this, they brought her to Jesus, testing him. Let's keep going. But Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground. But when they persisted in asking him, what were they asking him? Sorry, my page is right here in the middle. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone her. What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? What are you going to do? What are you going to do about this woman? We caught her. She was having sex. You know? He starts doing something in the ground, in the dirt, right there in the temple, near the holy place, full of people where just moments ago he had stopped people selling doves and animals. That should be a place of worship. Read just prior to this. It was a big hubbub. He made a spectacle. And now he's back. And he starts writing on the ground with this woman there, possibly barely clothed, and all the men around him. And they kept persisting him, asking the same question over and over. He straightened up and said to them, He who is without sin among you, let him be the first to throw a stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And when they heard it, they heard it, they began to go out one by one, beginning with the older ones. The older men started leaving first. And he was left alone, and the woman where she had been in the midst. So now it's just Jesus and this woman, alone. And straightening up, Jesus said to her, Woman, where are they? Did no one condemn you? Asking her where her accusers are. And she said, No one, Lord. No one, Father. And Jesus said in reply, Neither do I condemn you. Now go your way. From now on, sin no more. And therefore Jesus spoke to them, saying, I guess the rest of the people actually still in the temple, not the accusers who brought the woman, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in the darkness, but shall have the light of life. And John repeats Jesus being the light of life many times, but the point here is this. People wonder what he wrote in the sand. And we were talking in church one day, and we came to an interesting conclusion. What if he was writing down the sins of those people? If they found her in sin, who were they to accuse her of sin when they were in sin too? He could have been calling out their hypocrisy, making less of a spectacle of himself from the day before, or days before. That's very possible. And when he wrote that sin down, he could have written their name and the sin, the name and the sin, the name and the sin. And that person leaves, and the next person leaves. And the next person leaves. Until it's just him and the woman. And what does that tell us? That when we're in sin and we need help, we need to get one-on-one with God too. We don't need to boast. We don't need to celebrate to the world some of our achievements, like the 360 and the Xbox and the Sony PlayStations do. We need to boast about Jesus and the things He can do for us, not our own achievements. But change is possible. Through Christ, we can change. Is the temptations over? No. We're still living here. We're still in the world. We're still in the flesh. You know? It's something we're going to have to deal with every day. But through repentance, through Christ and His blood, are we sanctified and tried to keep separate from the world to where we can sin a little less and repent daily and try to be more like Him and walk His walk. That's the point to all this. It doesn't matter what your sin is. You weren't born that way. You weren't born to steal. We weren't born greedy for money. We weren't born to get fat. We aren't born with diabetes. Well, some people are. Let me take that back. My diabetic issues were because I was fat. It came about. So I eat those words. But the point is we are not born in certain ways. We are born physically in this world into a world of sin, where sin and tragedy can mold us into sometimes terrible people. But we can better ourselves with Christ in our lives. He is our spiritual pillar. With Him we can lean on. And with our faith, as I've said before, is putting our strength, all our strength in the Lord, in our belief. There is something there. He's here with us. And He's always watching. Sorry I went super long. This has been pressed upon my heart like you wouldn't believe. So with this, thank you. Have a good day. Have a blessed day. Thank you for watching if you made it this far into this video. If you have 45 minutes, 50 plus minutes to watch Colin and Peyton trying to find an EVP in some spooky place, then you had time for this video too. I love those guys. I hope the best for them. But read John chapter 8. Ponder these things. Think about them. Use your power of now to come to Christ. And I want to get to that too. Thank you for everything. You are important. You're more important to Christ. He wants all of us badly. And have a great afternoon.